In the chaos of early 18th century India, after the Iron Willed Aurangzeb died in 1707, the Mughal throne began to crumble, and what followed was not succession but slaughter. Brothers murdered brothers, princes blinded princes, and in just 13 years, seven brutal wars were fought for the crown. Real power shifted from emperors to kingmakers, the Saeed brothers. They removed, they blinded shadow emperors as per their convenience. In this age of decaying India rose a young lion from the Deccan, Peshwa Baji Rao, whose eyes blazing over the Sahyadri thundered and swore, the saffron flag shall fly beyond the Indus. Brave as tiger, handsome as God, he was no ordinary man born of privileges. He was destiny's child, restless, ambitious, aflame with purpose. And with every gallop of his steed and flash of his talwar, the Marathas ceased to be kingdom of hills and forts. Gradually they become an empire. Mughals' Delhi trembled as his army swept over Gujarat, Malwa and Bundelkhand. The thunder of cannons, the whistling hail of musket fire, the steel clash of lances, all became the dreaded music of the thundering and rapid march of his great cavalry. But the bright star was not alone. It had the galaxy of companions and rivals who whirled around his destiny. Nizam-ul-Mulk Asaf Jah I, the cunning founder of Hyderabad, Savai Jai Singh of Jaipur's statesman and stargazer, Kanhoji Angre the tempest who haunted foreign navies, Raja Chhatrasal, Bundelkhand's valiant king, and his enchanting daughter Mastani, who won the heart of the lion. Each personality carved their own legend, but BajiRao's shadow loomed above all, weaving their stories into his own saga. Beside him rode his comrades Ranoji Scindia, Malharrao Holkar, Udayji Pawar, Pilaji Gaekwad, men who would one day carve Gwalior, Indore, Dhar and Baroda into history. Yet even their rising star paled before the brilliant military strategist and the ever greatest general India produced, the warrior Peshwa Baji Rao. Baji Rao was the eldest son of the greatest statesman and negotiator Peshwa Balaji Vishwanath, who laid the solid foundation for stabilization of the Maratha Empire, and Radhabai, a lady of considerable talent and education when few men were literate. And it is even more unusual for a woman, which became a great advantage in the upbringing of her children. She survived her husband by 33 years and exercised great influence on her family, especially on Baji Rao. While Balaji was an intellectual, a scholar and well-read, Baji Rao had a little time for serious study. His childhood and his youth had been spent in camps, on horseback, listening to negotiation, watching diplomacy, and on the battlefield, accompanying his father on his several expeditions against recalcitrant Maratha Sardars. This made him a great soldier, particularly adept with the patta, the Maratha gauntlet sword with the long and flexible blade. He would charge down on horseback like a tornado with the patta, slashing at the foes on the either side of the horse. At the tender age of 11, he gone through the hard lesson of his life when he was imprisoned along with his father by the robber baron Damaji Thorat in a skirmishes against one of the Shahu's rivals general, and had to lead tough life in a fort jail till their ransom was paid by Shahuji. And during the last 2 years of his father's premiership, Bajirao became an important military commander and accompanied him in the Maratha march to Delhi on call of Hussain Ali, one of the Saeed brothers, against Emperor Farrukhsiyar. Young Bajirao not only spent time at Delhi court but also attended important negotiations with Maharaja Jai Singh of Jaipur, with whom he developed a close relationship with far-reaching results for future Hindustan. After the sudden death of Balaji Vishwanath in 1720, the 22-year-old BajiRao I was appointed Peshwa by the astute Shahu I, who had long recognized his brilliance. The decision angered powerful nobles, especially Sripat Rao, the leader of Deccani and Marathi Brahmin, who doubted the Konkani Brahmin young leader capacity. But amid Mughal collapse and regional fragmentation, BajiRao unveiled a daring vision to Raja Shahuji: strike at the weakening Mughal heartland rather than remain confined to the Deccan. He declared, strike at the trunk and the branches will fall. His courage and clarity convinced Shahu, setting the Maratha on their path from regional power to pan-Indian force. But one man stood in his way was Nizam-ul-Mulk, an experienced and battle-hardened man who, after finishing the Saeed brothers and frustrated with Delhi court politics, moved to Deccan and nearly carving an independent state after defeating the Mughal governor of Hyderabad, Mughal Khan. But he did not underestimate the Maratha, as he had learned it from Aurangzeb's 25-year failure and would not invade them blindly. Instead, he obstructed revenue claims, encouraged internal Maratha division of right of chort collection between a rival Maratha faction, Shahuji at Satara and Sambhaji at Kolhapur, and waited. But BajiRao understood that Nizam would never yield to negotiation and force is necessary. Between 1725 and 1728, an uneasy peace endured between the Maratha and Nizam-ul-Mulk, granting temporary stability to the dominion of Shahu I, who, determined to expand influence, launched two major expeditions in Karnataka in 1725 and 1726. Though BajiRao won, a strategic gaze was fixed on North India. He led nearly 50,000 troops southward alongside Sripatrao. The Maratha collected tribute, subdued rebellious chieftains, and reasserted authority as far as Tanjore. These southern advances provoked hostility. The Nizam, aspiring to dominate the Deccan and the south, viewed Maratha expansion as a direct challenge. Samaji of Kolhapur, rival claimant to Maratha leadership, also felt threatened. By 1726, the Nizam moved strategically. He attempted to fracture Maratha unity by offering jagirs to influential Sardars and refused to pay Chot and Sardeshmukhi from the 6 Deccan Subhas, questioning whether Shahu or Sambhaji was the right ruler. He even invited both claimants to Hyderabad for arbitration. Aligning with Sambhaji, he sought to ignite civil discord. Though Sripatrao supported negotiation, BajiRao firmly opposed it, and persuaded by the Peshwa, Shahu declared war. Militarily, the Nizam relied on a vast artillery-heavy force. BajiRao, in contrast, commanded a swift cavalry army, light, mobile and lethal, ready to defeat weight and speed and precision. In October 1727, before the Nizam could invade, BajiRao struck first. He raided Aurangabad and Jalna, evaded pursuing forces and launched rapid destructive marches across Berar and Khandes, sacking towns and exhausting the enemy. Avoiding pitched battle, he conducted lightning raids that baffled the slower Nizam. Further, in a bold move, he crossed the Tapti and Narmada rivers into Gujarat, misleading the Mughal governor and drawing Nizam further away from his artillery. Meanwhile, the Nizam, confused by pursuing, changed the course and moved on Pune, forcing Raja Shahu to retreat to Purandar Fort, proclaiming rival Sambhaji authority there. But instead of defending Pune, BajiRao launched a daring counterstroke, sweeping into the Nizam's own territory along the Godavari and threatening Aurangabad, his earlier capital. Alarmed, the Nizam hurried back near Palkhed, where BajiRao executed his masterpiece. As the Nizam army crossed the Godavari in stages, temporarily separated from its artillery, BajiRao encircled and cut off supplies, driving the enemy into a waterless region. Starved, exhausted and surrounded, the Nizam was compelled to negotiate. In March 1728, the Treaty of Sevagaon recognized Shahu as a sole Maratha sovereign and restored Maratha fiscal rights. Though Samaji was not surrendered by Nizam, BajiRao had decisively outmaneuvered a powerful adversary, enhanced his prestige, and secured his rise to dominance in the Maratha state. After consolidating Maratha authority in the Deccan, BajiRao turned his gaze northward towards Malwa, a land he saw not merely as a territory but as the gateway to Hindustan. Malwa lay just beyond the Narmada river and controlled the great corridor between the Deccan and the North India. Whoever dominated Malwa commanded the road to Delhi. The province was immensely wealthy due to the fertile land and the thriving trade routes. But by the 1720s, Mughal authorities there had weakened under inefficient administration, creating an opportunity that BajiRao was quick to seize. True to his strategic genius, BajiRao did not attempt immediate conquest. Instead, he employed the distinctive Maratha method of lightning cavalry raid designed to drain Mughal strength before claiming control. Accordingly, in 1723, leading a large cavalry and accompanied by his trusted commanders Malharrao Holkar, Ranoji Scindia and Udayji Pawar, BajiRao swept into Malwa like a tornado. He moved with that astonishing speed, carrying minimal baggage and avoiding cumbersome artillery. They struck swiftly at revenue towns, tax collectors and the administrative depot, crippling Mughal authority while avoiding prolonged sieges. And after quickly collecting chort and loot from the provinces, BajiRao withdrew, leaving Holkar, Scindia and Pawar behind agents to ensure the continued flow of annual tribute. Again in the following year, 1724, BajiRao repeated the raid. This time the objective was not territorial control but financial pressure. Maratha horsemen spread across the provinces in waves, appearing suddenly and disappearing before imperial forces could react. This relentless mobility shattered Mughal command structure and spread fear among provincial officials. An important factor in these operations was the covert support of Raja Jai Singh of Amer, who just established the city of Jaipur. Jai Singh, a shrewd statesman, was fed up with the anti-Hindu rhetoric of Mughal since Aurangzeb time. Further, he recognized the weakening of Mughal authority a chance and had chosen diplomacy over confrontation. By quietly allowing Maratha movements and maintaining communication with BajiRao, he preserved stability in Rajput lands while subtly influencing the emerging balance of power in North India. However, the decisive moment in Malwa came in November 1728 when BajiRao launched the final campaign. He and his brother Chimaji Appa advanced simultaneously but by the different routes. Chimaji moved west through Khandes while BajiRao advanced east through Ahmednagar and Berar towards western Bundelkhand. Chimaji crossed the Narmada River near Indore with the local Hindu Jamindar Nandlal Chaudhary's help, and at a narrow Vindhya range of Tanda Ghat in a pitched battle defeated and killed the Mughal governor Girdhar Bahadur of Ujjain, a Jat chieftain, weakening imperial control across the province. Immediately after this, Mughal court dispatched a larger army to restore order, but BajiRao intervened with them on their way in western Bundelkhand in a masterful strategy. Avoiding direct confrontation, he used swift cavalry movement to encircle the imperial army, sever its supplies, and isolate it from reinforcement. Harassed continuously and starved of provision, the Mughal forces collapsed without decisive battle. By the end of campaign, Mughal resistance in Malwa had crumbled and the Marathas secured the right to collect revenue, marking the true conquest of the province and opening the road toward northern India. Unlike many rulers who centralized glory, BajiRao, besides acting as a strategic brain, operational coordinator and political negotiator, empowered his commander rather than micromanaging. His trusted Malharrao Holkar, Ranoji Scindia, Pilaji Gaekwad and Udayji Pawar were not princes but rose through merit in battlefield, fighting with BajiRao, sharing hardship and building confidence, battlefield competence, regional command strength and institutional impact. Ultimately, these cavalry captains consolidated the Maratha gains and they turned into state founders in future. Holkar dynasty at Indore, Scindia dynasty at Gwalior, Gaekwad at Baroda and Pawar house at Dhar. After securing Malwa, BajiRao turns toward Gujarat, one of the richest Mughal provinces with the major trade hub of Surat and Cambi, a strong revenue base with a weak and divided Mughal administration, and ideal for Maratha fiscal expansion. But here, instead of leading every thrust personally, BajiRao empowered Pilaji Gaekwad, who conducted rapid cavalry incursion exploiting Mughal weaknesses and establishing permanent control, and finally laying the foundation of the Baroda state. While engaged in consolidating Maratha authority in Deccan, Malwa, BajiRao grasped Bundelkhand's immense strategic value as the gateway of North India. So in 1728, when formidable Mughal commander Muhammad Khan Bangez invaded the hard-won kingdom of the aged Bundela chief Chhatrasal, he appealed to BajiRao for help. Accordingly, in early 1729, BajiRao rode north with his dominating cavalry at a characteristic speed, and rather than risking a pitched battle, he applied his signature guerrilla tactics, cutting off supplies, harassing flanks, and isolating Bangez forces, resulting in withdrawal of Mughal army. The triumph reshaped northern politics, as in gratitude, Chhatrasal granted BajiRao a substantial share of Bundelkhand with fiscal right, giving the Maratha a vital northern base. Now, regional rulers increasingly looked to Marathas, not the fading Mughals, for leadership and protection. Chhatrasal also married his daughter Mastani, likely born from a Persian Muslim mother, to BajiRao, sealing an alliance that was both political and deeply personal and romantic. The BajiRao and Mastani pair, though, deepened Maratha engagement in North India but stirred intense domestic turmoil. Admired for her beauty, intellect and skill in music, dance and horsemanship, Mastani often accompanied BajiRao on campaigns, sharing his austere, martial life and offering him companionship and inspiration. But her mixed heritage and non-orthodox background provoked strong opposition from Pune's conservative Brahmin elite and members of the Peshwa household, particularly Radhabai, who viewed the relationship as a socially and religiously improper. Mastani faced ostracism and isolation, and pressure mounted on BajiRao to abandon her. He refused, straining family ties and unsettling the Maratha court. But the episode reveals the human side of the great warrior, undaunted in battle, yet steadfast in love and loyalty, even at personal and political cost. After mastering the land, BajiRao turned his gaze to the sea as the empire he envisioned would not stop at the shoreline. When Shahu secured the throne at Satara, the Maratha state was far from stable. Rival claimed lingered, coastal powers remained defiant, and European enclaves along the western shore posed a growing challenge. On land, Peshwa Baji Rao had already begun transferring Maratha war into a swift, aggressive instrument of expansion, but to command the Deccan fully, mastery of the sea was equally essential. That role fell to Kanhoji Angre. Operating from the rugged Konkan coast, Angre commanded a nimble indigenous navy perfectly suited to India's shallow western water from formidable island forts like Colaba and Vijayadurga, disrupting European trade and naval movement. Portuguese and English vessels, long confident of maritime superiority, found themselves harassed with the Angre's understanding of coastal geography. But Angre's true significance lay in his integration into Bajirao's broader imperial design. Earlier aligned with the rival Tarawai faction, later he was secured under Shahu's authority by Bajirao's diplomatic fathers Balaji Vishwanath, ensuring unity between Satara and Konkan. The Portuguese strongholds at Thane, Celeste and Basin symbolized foreign dominance, and their removal became a strategic necessity. While BajiRao campaigned in Malwa and against the Nizam, execution on the coast was entrusted to Chimaji Appa, whose disciplined sieges and proper backing of Angre's navy complemented his brother's mobile warfare. Through sustained pressure, fort after fort fell, culminating in the capture of Basin in 1739 with Portuguese authority to the north of Goa collapse. The victory marked not merely territorial gain, but psychological ascendancy. Under Shahuji's legitimacy and Bajirao direction, the Maratha established supremacy across the western coast and securing their rise as a true imperial power. From early campaigns, Chimaji Appa emerges as the quiet strength, steady flame, measured discipline, and unwavering behind Bajirao's blazing sword. Unlike his elder brother's piteous cavalry brilliance, Chimaji possessed a calm and purposeful, methodical temperament. Operating largely from Satara and later Pune, he ensured internal stability to Shahu's court, managing factional tension and administrative responsibility, while Bajirao campaigned relentlessly across Malwa, Bundelkhand and the Deccan. The balance between the battlefield aggression and the political steadiness was crucial to Maratha expansion. Chimaji Appa was not merely Bajirao's subordinate, he was his indispensable complement. Together they formed a partnership of velocity and vigilance, one expanding the Maratha frontier, the other consolidating it. Without Chimaji, Bajirao's grand strategy might have lacked the foundation that transformed ambition into enduring empire. After consolidating the Deccan, Bajirao shifted the theatre of war beyond Malwa and Bundelkhand to the very approaches of Delhi. Instead of seeking pitched battle or territorial occupation, he adopted relentless mobility. His cavalry columns crossed the Narmada again and again, appearing unexpectedly, leaving chart, disrupting imperial communication, and exposing the hollowness of Mughal authority. Each campaign demonstrated that the emperor could neither defend his provinces nor protect his governors. The psychological blow was greater than the military one. Delhi began to realize that the Maratha could strike at will and withdraw untouched. In 1737 again, Bajirao demonstrated the most audacious demonstration of cavalry warfare in Indian history. Moving with astonishing speed, he bypassed a strong Mughal position at Mathura, crossed river with minimal baggage and suddenly appeared on the Talkatora, the outskirts of imperial Delhi. But he did not storm the Red Fort. He did something more devastating. He ransacked the suburbs, routed imperial contingent who dared to fight, and suddenly vanished to Jaipur before a concentrated response could form. The message was unmistakable. The Mughal emperor could not defend his own capital. This humiliation shattered the aura of invincibility that still clung to the peacock throne. The psychological blow far exceeded the material damage. The empire's weakness was now visible to the world. And when Nadir Shah launched his electrifying campaign in 1739, sweeping through the northwest and crushing Mughal forces at Karnal, he exploited precisely this exposed fragility. The prestige of Delhi had already been dented. BajiRao had shown that the imperial center was hollow. Once again, Emperor Muhammad Shah turned towards BajiRao's old adversary, Nizam, and called him in Delhi to counter Maratha. And the dramatic and the climatic encounter came around Bhopal in 1738. Instead of engaging in heavy battle against the Nizam artillery, BajiRao again encircled him, cut off supplies, devastating surrounding territories, and starved his forces into submission. It was classic Maratha operational art, mobility over mass, maneuver over confrontation. The Nizam, once the proud tiger of Deccan, was compelled to negotiate again. By the Treaty of Bhopal, the Mughals conceded Malwa formally to the Marathas. Without occupying Delhi's throne, BajiRao had reduced both Emperor and Nizam to reactive power. The Maratha became in effect the uncrowned masters of Hindustan, ruling not from peacock throne but from the saddle. At the heart of the BajiRao genius was mobility. Rejecting the slow artillery-heavy Mughal model, he perfected swift cavalry warfare, traveling light, striking suddenly and shifting theatres with breathtaking speed. His forces avoided entrapment and turned distance into advantage. Equally vital was his gift for delegation. He built a trusted circle of commanders, empowering them with the independent commands within a coordinated framework. This enabled simultaneous campaigns across vast regions. BajiRao preferred maneuver over massacre and disruption over needless bloodshed. Mastering logistics, morale, terrain, and timing, he blended audacity with calculation. Through speed, vision, and disciplined organization, he transformed the Maratha from a regional power into a dominant force across India. By the late 1730s, BajiRao stood at the zenith of his power. Yet triumph brought new strains. His relationship with the Mastani provoked fierce opposition from orthodox circles in Pune, including his mother Radhabai. Though his authority in war remained intact, domestic tension unsettled the court. Meanwhile, the expanding Maratha confederacy grew more complex. Powerful chiefs like Holkar, Scindia, and Gaekwad commanded vast territories, loyal yet but increasingly autonomous. Unity required constant vigilance, therefore BajiRao remained ever in the saddle. In 1740, while campaigning near the Narmada at Ravarkhedi, he fell ill and died at the age of just 39. A warrior to the end, he passed not in palace but in the field where he had always belonged.